Vexthal stared at the glowing screen in front of him. The numbers dancing across the display made no sense. He rubbed his 4 eyes and looked again. The same strange readings appeared on his scanner. The monitoring station floated quietly in. Space around the dead planet Kelthar 7. Vexthal had worked here for 12 years. He knew every type of signal that could appear on his equipment. Asteroid fragments made one kind of signal. Solar storms made another. Even space pirates had their own special pattern. This signal was different, very different. Computer, run diagnostic check on Scanner Array 7, Vexthal said into his headset. His voice carried the tired tone of someone who had seen too many. False alarms. The computer's voice came back smooth and calm. All systems operating within normal parameters. No errors detected. Vexthal frowned. If the scanners worked fine, then something real was out there. Something that moved with purpose through the empty space near their border. The energy signature looked like a ship, but not any ship he had ever seen before. He pulled up the database of known vessels. The Centauri Alliance used fusion drives that created blue energy trails. The Rigel Consortium preferred antimatter engines with their distinctive purple glow. Even the old Terran Republic ships from decades ago had clear patterns. In the records dot, this signal matched none of them. The object moved slowly but steadily toward Zephyrian space. Whatever it was, it had direction and control. Natural phenomena did not fly in straight lines through the void. Vexthal reached for his communication device. He should report this to his supervisor, but then he stopped. Supervisor Kelnath did. Not like false alarms. The last technician who cried wolf about phantom contacts got transferred to a garbage processing station on the rim worlds. Maybe he should wait. Watch the signal for a few more minutes. Make sure it was really there before causing trouble. The unknown craft continued its steady approach. Vexthal enhanced the scanner resolution and tried to get more details. The ship seemed to bend light around itself in strange ways. Sometimes the readings were strong and clear. Other times they faded almost to nothing. Advanced stealth technology, Vexthal whispered to himself. Only the most sophisticated military vessels could hide from sensors that well. This was not some lost cargo hauler or independent trader. His hands moved quickly across the control panel. He activated the long-range communication array and started recording everything. If this turned out to be important, he wanted proof. Far away in the darkness of space, Lieutenant Commander Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of his ship. The USS Relentless cut through the void like a silent knife. Its hull absorbed most electromagnetic radiation and bent the rest around its frame. To most scanners, the ship looked like empty space. "Navigation report, Lisa," Morrison said to the young woman at the helm station. Navigator Lisa Park checked her instruments. "We are 3 light minutes from the Zephyrian border, sir." "Maintaining course and speed as ordered," Morrison nodded. "This mission should be simple. Fly close to enemy territory, record their defense positions, and return home with intelligence data." Earth Command wanted to know how strong the Zephyrian Empire had become during humanity's long absence from galactic politics. "Any sign they have detected us?" Morrison asked. Weapons Officer Tony Rodriguez shook his head. "Negative, sir." "Our stealth systems are working perfectly. They cannot see us." Morrison felt satisfied with that answer. Human technology had advanced greatly during their 30-year isolation. The aliens still used the same old detection methods. Humans had learned to hide from all of them. Chief Engineer Sam Collins looked up from his station. "Sir, I am reading some unusual energy patterns from their monitoring posts. They might be scanning more actively than normal. Anything to worry about?" Morrison asked. "Probably not," Collins replied. "Our stealth field should handle whatever they throw at us." Back on the monitoring station, Vexthul made his decision. The unknown contact had been on his screen for 20 minutes now. It moved too steadily and purposefully to be anything natural. He had to report it. He opened a communication channel to the station commander. "Sir, this is Scanner Tech Vexthul. I have an unidentified contact approaching Sector 7. Commander Yulhan's voice crackled through the speaker. "What type of contact? Give me details." "Unknown vessel, sir. The energy signature does not match anything in our database. It appears to be using advanced stealth technology." A long pause followed. Then Yulhan spoke again, his voice more serious. "Are you certain about this, technician?" "Yes, sir. I have been tracking it for 23 minutes. The readings are consistent, and the movement pattern suggests intelligent control. Send me your data immediately. I am coming to your station." Vexthul transmitted the scanner information to the commander's office. Within minutes, Commander Yulhan appeared at his workstation. The tall Zephyrian officer studied the displays with growing concern. "Computer, compare this energy signature with all classified military files," Yulhan ordered. The computer took longer this time. It searched through restricted databases that normal technicians could not access. When it finished, the results made both officers step back in shock. "Match found," the computer announced. "Energy pattern consistent with Terran Republic vessel. Type designation, military. Confidence level, 87%. Commander Yulhan's skin turned pale blue, the Zephyrian equivalent of human skin going white with fear. "That is impossible. The humans were wiped out 30 years ago." But the computer did not lie. The scanner readings matched the energy signatures of human warships from the old war. Ships that had terrorized the galaxy before vanishing into the unknown regions of space. Vexthul looked at his commander with wide eyes. "Sir, what should we do?" Yulhan activated the station's emergency communication system. His message would reach every Zephyrian military installation within 50 light years. "All units, this is monitoring station Kelthar 7. We have detected a possible human vessel entering our space. Repeat, possible human contact. All commands implement Code Black protocols immediately." Across Zephyrian territory, warning alarms began to sound. Admiral Kreshtar was studying tactical maps when the emergency message arrived. The red priority signal flashed across every screen on his flagship's bridge. He had been planning the next campaign against the Centauri Alliance, thinking about. Ship movements and supply lines. The message from monitoring station Kelthar 7 changed everything. "Human vessel detected." The word seemed impossible. Kreshtar read the report 3 times before he believed it. His bridge crew stood silent, waiting for orders. They all knew what those words meant. "Get me the classified archives," Kreshtar told his aide. "Access level black. I want every file we have on human military encounters." The archives took several minutes to download. Most of the crew had never seen files this restricted. The data came from 30 years ago, when the galaxy was a very different place. Kreshtar opened the first file and began to read. The battle of Rigel Prime. A single human destroyer had attacked a Zephyrian convoy of 12 ships. The human vessel destroyed 8 of them before disappearing into hyperspace. No survivors could explain how one ship had defeated so many. The next file was worse. The siege of Centauri Station. 3 human frigates had held off an entire Alliance fleet for 6 hours. When reinforcements arrived, they found the station intact and the Alliance ships retreating in disorder. But the file that made Kreshtar's blood run cold was the last one. The Battle of Vega Sector. Captain Ryan Blake of the human ship USS Defiance had engaged a full Zephyrian battle group. 24 warships against 1 human vessel. The human ship won. Kreshtar remembered that battle. He had been a young lieutenant then, serving on a cruiser in the rear guard. He watched in horror as human weapons tore through Zephyrian shields like paper. The enemy ship moved like nothing they had ever seen, dodging fire that should have been impossible to avoid. Captain Blake had destroyed 18 ships before withdrawing. The remaining 6 Zephyrian vessels, including Kreshtar's cruiser, had been too damaged to pursue. The human captain could have finished them all, but chose to leave. "Sir?" his aide asked. "Your orders?" Kreshtar closed the files. "Send a message to High Command. Tell them we need to convene an emergency council meeting and prepare the Third Fleet for immediate deployment." "The entire Third Fleet, sir? Against one ship?" Kreshtar looked at his aide with grim eyes. "You do not understand what we are facing. One human ship destroyed more vessels than most species lose in entire wars. We cannot take any chances." Light years away, on the bridge of the USS Relentless, Commander Morrison received his own priority message. The quantum communication array delivered orders directly from Earth in real time. Regardless of distance, Admiral Kate Sullivan's face appeared on the main screen. Her expression was serious but calm. Morrison had served under her before and knew that look. Something big was about to happen. "Commander Morrison," Sullivan began, "your stealth systems have been compromised. The Zephyrians know you are there." Morrison felt his stomach drop. "How is that possible, Admiral? Our technology should be undetectable. Their old databases still contain information about our ships from the war," Sullivan explained. "They recognized your energy signature. This changes our timeline significantly." Navigator Lisa Park looked confused. "Timeline for what, sir?" Sullivan turned her attention to the entire bridge crew. "What I am about to tell you is classified at the highest levels. For 30 years, humanity has been preparing for this moment. Our withdrawal from galactic politics was not a retreat. It was a strategic pause." Weapons Officer Tony Rodriguez leaned forward. "You mean we have been planning to come back?" "More than planning," Sullivan said. "We have been building, training, waiting for the right moment to remind the galaxy what human determination can accomplish." Morrison began to understand. This mission was not just reconnaissance, was it? "No, Commander. Your detection was the signal we have been waiting for. Operation Thunderstrike is now active. You are about to become the most important ship in human space." Chief Engineer Sam Collins checked his instruments nervously. "Admiral, we are outnumbered about 200 to 1 out here. The Zephyrian Third Fleet is mobilizing." Sullivan smiled for the first time during the conversation. "Mr. Collins, you are thinking like the old galaxy thinks. They still believe human ships fight alone. They have forgotten that humans are pack hunters." The communication ended, leaving Morrison's crew in stunned silence. They had thought this was a simple spying mission. Instead, they had just learned they were the first piece in a much larger plan. Across Zephyrian space, panic spread like wildfire. Fleet commanders who had grown comfortable with decades of peace suddenly remembered old nightmares. Files that had been sealed in archives were opened and studied with growing alarm. The human war machine had been the most efficient killing force the galaxy had ever seen. Human tactics were unpredictable. Human technology was years ahead of everyone else. Human warriors seemed to feel no fear. Most terrifying of all, humans fought for each other with a loyalty that other species could not understand. A human soldier would die to save a comrade. A human captain would sacrifice his own ship to protect his fleet. This made them dangerous in ways that pure technology could not match. General Morthick of the Zephyrian army read reports from the old war with growing dread. Human ground forces had never lost a major engagement. They adapted to any situation. They fought in conditions that would kill most other species. They turned every battlefield into their advantage. "How many humans do we think are left?" Morthick asked his intelligence officer. Unknown, sir. After their withdrawal, they disappeared completely. Our best estimates suggest several billion, but we have no concrete data. Morphic nodded grimly. Several billion humans with 30 years to prepare for war. The thought made him sick. On Earth, President Ellen Hayes stood in the Situation Room. Beneath the capital city, displays showed the positions of human fleets across the galaxy. Ships that had been hidden for 3 decades were powering up their engines and preparing to move. How long until our forces are in position? Hayes asked. General Patricia Chun, head of Earth's military forces, checked her reports. 12 hours for the first wave. 48 hours for full deployment. And the Zephyrians? They are mobilizing everything they have. Admiral Kreshtar is leading 200 ships toward Commander Morrison's position. Hayes nodded. Good. Let them bring their entire fleet. It is time they remembered why they used to fear us. The President activated the communication system that would reach every human ship in space. This is President Hayes. Operation Thunderstrike is now active. All units proceed to assigned positions. Show them that humanity has not grown weak during our absence. Across human space, thousands of ships began to move. Destroyers uncloaked near alien trade routes. Cruisers dropped out of hyperspace at strategic locations. Battleships that had been hiding in asteroid fields powered up their weapons. The galaxy was about to remember that humans had never really left. They had just been waiting for the right moment to return. The news spread through the Zephyrian communication network faster than anyone expected. What started as a classified military alert soon became whispered rumors in civilian areas. By the end of the day, every Zephyrian citizen knew the truth, that their government had hidden for 30 years. The humans were not extinct. On the industrial world of Kethmer, FAC-20R workers stopped their machines and gathered around news displays. The official government report was brief and carefully worded, but everyone understood what it meant. The species that had once terrorized the galaxy was back. Factory Supervisor Velson remembered stories his grandfather had told him. Stories about human ships that appeared from nowhere and disappeared just as quickly. Ships that could outfight entire fleets and survive impossible odds. Shut down all non-essential operations. Velson ordered his workers, prepare for emergency evacuation. Procedures. Similar scenes played out across hundreds of Zephyrian worlds. Civilian leaders who had grown up during peacetime suddenly faced the possibility of war with an enemy their parents had barely survived. Fleet. Admiral Zorthek convened an emergency meeting of the Zephyrian High Command. The massive conference. Room filled with military leaders from across their empire. Many had never seen classified files about human capabilities. Today, they would learn why their predecessors had been so afraid. Gentlemen, Zorthek began, we face a crisis that could destroy our entire civilization. A human species has returned to known space. Murmurs of disbelief filled the room. Admiral Tekvar, a young officer who had never seen combat, raised his hand. Sir, with respect, how can one species pose such a threat? We have the largest fleet in this sector of the galaxy. Zorthek activated the main display screen. Battle footage from 30 years ago began to play. The assembled officers watched, in growing horror, as human ships performed maneuvers that seemed to defy physics. They saw Zephyrian battle groups destroyed by single human vessels. This footage is from the Battle of Kepler Station, Zorthek explained. 57 Zephyrian ships engaged 4 human destroyers. The humans destroyed 31 of our vessels and escaped with minimal damage. The room fell silent. The numbers seemed impossible, but the footage was real. Admiral Yorthel, one of the few officers old enough to remember the war, stood up. Sir, I was there when the humans withdrew from known space. We thought we had won, but now I realize they were never. Defeated, they chose to leave. Zorthek nodded grimly. Exactly. Intelligence reports suggest they have spent the last 30 years preparing for their return. We have no idea what new weapons or tactics they have developed. Meanwhile, on Earth, President Ellen Hayes met with the leaders of humanity's secret allies. For 3 decades, Earth had maintained hidden contact with several species that had grown tired of alien aggression and corruption. Ambassador Thelmos of the Rigel Consortium appeared on the main communication screen. His insectoid features showed obvious nervousness. President Hayes, Thelmos began. The Galactic Council has received requests for military aid from the Zephyrian Empire. They claim humanity poses a threat to galactic peace. Hayes smiled coldly. Ambassador, humanity has been absent from galactic politics for 30 years. In that time, how many wars have the other species fought among themselves? Thelmos consulted his notes. 17 major conflicts, ma'am, not counting smaller border disputes and trade wars. And how many wars did humanity start during our active period in galactic politics? According to our records, none. Humans only fought in defensive actions or to protect smaller species from aggression. Hayes leaned forward. The Zephyrians are afraid because they remember what happens when humans fight back. They are not concerned about galactic peace. They are worried about losing their position as the dominant military power. On the bridge of the USS Relentless, Commander Morrison and his crew prepared for what was coming. Long-range sensors showed the massive Zephyrian fleet approaching their position. 200 warships, including some of the largest vessels ever built. Navigator Lisa Park ran calculations on her computer. Sir, even with our advanced weapons, we cannot fight that many. Ships, Morrison smiled. We are not supposed to fight them, Lisa. We are supposed to delay them until help arrives. Weapons Officer Tony Rodriguez checked his targeting systems. How long do we need to hold out, sir? 18 hours, Morrison replied. Admiral Sullivan promised reinforcements would arrive by then. Chief Engineer Sam Collins looked doubtful. Sir, 18 hours against 200 ships? That seems impossible. Morrison walked to the center of the bridge. Mr. Collins, you are thinking like everyone else in the galaxy. You assume human ships fight alone. But humans are pack hunters. We never really hunt alone. Before Collins could ask what that meant, the ship's sensors detected something new. 3 energy signatures appeared on the edge of the system, then 6 more, then a dozen. Sir, Lisa Park called out, I am reading multiple contacts dropping. Out of hyperspace, they appear to be human vessels. Morrison nodded. Phase 1 of Operation Thunderstrike. Our friends have arrived early. The reinforcements were not what anyone expected. Instead of massive battleships, the new arrivals were smaller vessels, fast destroyers and agile frigates. Ships designed for hit-and-run tactics rather than head-to-head combat. Captain Derek Mason's voice came through the communication system. Relentless, this is Captain Mason of the USS Sovereign. Sorry we are late to the party. Morrison felt relief flood through him. Good to see you, Derek. What did you bring me? 15 destroyers, 8 frigates, and a few surprises. Should be enough to make things interesting. The Zephyrian fleet was still hours away, but their long-range scouts had already detected the human reinforcements. Admiral Kreshtar studied the tactical display with growing confusion. 24 human ships against 200 Zephyrian vessels, his tactical officer reported. Sir, those odds are heavily in our favor. Kreshtar remembered the old war files he had been reading. Human tactics were never straightforward. They did not fight fair battles or follow standard military doctrine. Maintain our approach, Kreshtar ordered, but keep all sensors active. Watch for more human ships. They are planning something. His instincts were correct. Across the galaxy, Human vessels that had been hiding for 30 years were moving into position. Some appeared near major trade routes. Others positioned themselves near important military installations. A few took up positions near the homeworlds of various alien species. The message was clear. Humanity was not just returning to galactic politics. They were announcing their presence in a way that could not be ignored. On the Galactic Council Station, emergency sessions were called as reports flooded in from across known space. Human ships were appearing everywhere, but they were not attacking. They were simply showing themselves. Council leader Vex Thani tried to understand what was happening. How many human vessels have been detected? The intelligence officer checked his reports. Over 3,000 confirmed contacts, sir, and more are appearing every hour. Vex Thani felt sick. 3,000 ships meant humanity had been building a massive fleet during their absence. But more importantly, it meant they had been watching and waiting for the right moment to reveal themselves. Send a message to all council members, Vex Thani ordered. Emergency session in 12 hours. We need to discuss how to handle humanity's return. The galaxy was about to learn that humans had not spent 30 years hiding in fear. They had spent that time preparing for war. Commander Morrison stood on the bridge of the USS Relentless, watching the tactical display as the massive Zephyrian fleet approached. 200 enemy ships moved in perfect formation, their hulls gleaming in the light of nearby stars. It was an impressive sight designed to intimidate any opponent. Morrison was not intimidated. He was calculating. Lisa, how long until they reach weapons range? He asked his navigator. Navigator Lisa Park checked her instruments. 4 hours and 37 minutes at their current speed, sir. Morrison nodded. The Zephyrians were taking their time, probably hoping to overwhelm the human ships with their sheer numbers. They had no idea what was really waiting for them. Weapons Officer Tony Rodriguez ran diagnostics on the ship's weapon systems. The USS Relentless carried the latest human military technology. Plasma cannons that could punch through any known shield. Torpedo systems that could track targets across vast distances. Point defense weapons that never missed. All weapons show green, sir, Rodriguez reported. We are ready for whatever they bring. Chief Engineer Sam Collins was not as confident. He kept staring at the numbers on his screen. 200 Zephyrian ships against 24 human vessels. Even with superior technology, those were terrible odds. Sir, Collins said quietly, I have enhanced our shields and weapons as much as possible. But if they all attack at once, ... Morrison turned to face his chief engineer. Sam, do you remember the Battle of Thermopylae from Earth history? Collins looked confused. No, sir. Should I? 300 Spartan warriors held off an army of thousands. They used terrain and tactics to overcome impossible odds. The Zephyrians think space combat is about big ships and heavy firepower. They are about to learn that humans fight differently. On the approaching Zephyrian flagship, Admiral Kreshtar studied intelligence reports about human capabilities. The files from 30 years ago painted a disturbing picture. Human ships were faster and more maneuverable than anything else in space. Human weapons were more accurate and more destructive. Human crews seemed to have no fear of death, but 30 years was a long time. Perhaps the humans had grown soft during their isolation. Perhaps their legendary fighting spirit had weakened. Kreshtar hoped so, but he did not believe it. Admiral, his tactical officer announced, we are detecting additional energy signatures in the outer system. It appears more human ships are arriving. Kreshtar enhanced the sensor display. 12 new contacts had appeared near the edge of the system. Then 6 more. The human fleet was growing, but slowly. Still only 42 ships total, the tactical officer noted. We maintain overwhelming numerical superiority. Kreshtar was not comforted by those numbers. He remembered Captain Ryan Blake and the USS Defiance. One human ship had destroyed 18 Zephyrian vessels before withdrawing. If each human ship could achieve similar results, 42 ships could devastate his entire fleet. Signal all vessels, Krishtar ordered. Maintain formation, but prepare for evasive maneuvers. Human tactics are unpredictable. Far behind the advancing Zephyrian fleet, Captain Derek Messon coordinated the arriving human reinforcements. The USS Sovereign had been joined by ships from across human space. Destroyers commanded by Captain Amanda Foster and Captain Greg Martinez. Support vessels under Commander Julia Thompson and Major Alex Rivera. Each captain brought their own expertise and experience. Foster specialized in electronic warfare. Martinez was an expert in ship-to-ship combat. Thompson coordinated logistics and supply operations. Rivera commanded the marine units that would board enemy vessels if necessary. Derek, Morrison's voice came through the communication system. What is our total strength now? Mason checked his tactical display. 42 ships and counting. We have more vessels en route, but they will not arrive before the Zephyrians reach us. Morrison sounded calm despite the approaching threat. 42 should be enough for Phase 2. Are all captains briefed on the battle plan? Affirmative. Everyone knows their role. The human battle plan was unlike anything the Zephyrians expected. Traditional space combat involved two fleets meeting head-on and slugging it out until one side retreated or was destroyed. Humans had developed a different approach during their 30 years of preparation, yet they would not fight the Zephyrian fleet directly. Instead, they would divide it, confuse it, and destroy it piece by piece. Captain Amanda Foster prepared her ship's electronic warfare systems. The USS Phoenix carried equipment that could jam enemy communications and disrupt their targeting computers. When the battle began, she would blind the Zephyrian fleet and make it impossible for them to coordinate their attacks. Captain Greg Martinez armed his ship's most powerful weapons. The USS Valor was built for close-range combat. Its armor could withstand tremendous punishment, while its guns tore enemy ships apart. Martinez would lead the direct assault when the time came. Commander Julia Thompson positioned her supply ships in safe locations throughout the system. Human vessels could rearm and refuel quickly during combat, giving them a significant advantage over enemies who had to fight with whatever they brought to the battle. Major Alex Rivera prepared his Marines for boarding operations. If any Zephyrian ships survived the initial assault, human soldiers would capture them and use them against their former allies. Back on Earth, President Ellen Hayes monitored the situation from the Military Command Center. Displays showed the approaching battle, but also the larger strategic picture. Human ships were revealing themselves across the galaxy, taking positions near important alien installations. How are the other species reacting? Hayes asked. General Patricia Chun consulted her reports. Mixed responses, ma'am. The Rigel Consortium is requesting immediate negotiations. The Centauri Alliance is mobilizing their fleet, but has not made any hostile moves. Several smaller species are asking for protection. Hayes nodded. And the Galactic Council? They are calling for an emergency session. Ambassador Thelmos is trying to mediate before shooting starts. Hayes studied the tactical display showing the approaching confrontation. Patricia, this battle will determine how the galaxy sees humanity for the next century. If we win decisively, other species will respect our strength. If we lose, General Chun finished the thought. If we lose, they will see us as the same humans who retreated 30 years ago. Dangerous, but not invincible. The President activated the communication system that reached every human ship in space. All commanders, this is President Hayes. The galaxy is watching what happens today. Show them that humanity has not grown weak during our absence. Show them why we were once feared, and show them that we have returned to stay. On the USS Relentless, Morrison's crew made final preparations. For battle, they had trained for this moment their entire careers. Human naval doctrine emphasized speed, accuracy, and overwhelming firepower applied at the right moment. Navigator Lisa Park plotted evasive courses that would keep them alive while they waited for the perfect opportunity to strike. Her calculations took into account the movement patterns of 200 enemy ships, stellar phenomena that could mask their approach, and the positioning of friendly vessels. Weapons. Officer Tony Rodriguez programmed firing solutions for dozens of scenarios. His targeting computer held detailed information about Zephyrian ship designs, including weak points that could be exploited. When the shooting started, every shot would count. Chief Engineer Sam Collins rerouted power systems to maximize combat efficiency. Shields and weapons would receive priority. Life support and non-essential systems would operate on minimal power. The ship was ready to fight. Morrison looked at his crew with pride. They were about to face impossible odds against an enemy that outnumbered them 5-1. But they were human, and humans had a long tradition of winning impossible battles. All stations report ready for combat, Morrison announced to the bridge. Lisa, signal Captain Mason. Tell him we are prepared to begin Phase 2. The human fleet spread out across the system, taking positions that would allow them to strike from multiple directions. They were not trying to match the Zephyrian formation. Instead, they were creating chaos. Admiral Kreshtar watched the human ships scatter and felt a chill of recognition. He had seen similar tactics 30 years ago. The humans were not preparing for a traditional battle. They were setting a trap. All ships maintain formation, Kreshtar ordered. Do not pursue individual human vessels. Stay together and advance as planned. But even as he gave the order, Kreshtar knew it might not matter. Humans had a gift for turning any plan against itself. They fought like no other species in the galaxy. The two fleets moved closer to each other through the cold darkness of space. In a few hours, the battle would begin. The galaxy would learn whether humanity had truly returned to power, or if they were still the broken species that had fled into exile 30 years ago. The moment of truth arrived not with explosions or laser fire, but with a simple communication signal. Commander Morrison opened a channel to the approaching Zephyrian fleet and spoke words that would change galactic history forever. Admiral Kreshtar, this is Lieutenant Commander Jake Morrison of the USS Relentless. I have a message for you from the people of Earth. On the Zephyrian flagship, Admiral Kreshtar stared at the communication display in shock. The human commander knew. His name, more disturbing, the human had contacted them first, before any shots were fired. This is Admiral Kreshtar, he replied carefully. State your message. Morrison's voice remained calm and professional. Admiral, you have brought 200 ships to destroy what you believe is a single human vessel. That shows you remember something about our capabilities. But your information is 30 years out of date. As Morrison spoke, something impossible began to happen. Ships started appearing throughout the system. Not the small reinforcements that had arrived earlier, but massive vessels that seemed to materialize from empty space. The first ship to decloak was enormous. The USS Sovereign revealed itself just 5 kilometers from the Zephyrian flagship. Its hull stretched for over a mile, bristling with weapons that dwarfed anything the aliens had ever seen. Then more ships appeared, destroyers uncloaked on all sides of the Zephyrian formation. Cruisers dropped their stealth fields near the rear of the alien fleet. Frigates became visible in positions that should have been impossible to reach without detection. Within minutes, the tactical display showed the truth. The Zephyrian fleet was completely surrounded by human vessels. Ships that had been hiding in plain sight, using stealth technology so advanced that even their most sensitive sensors could not detect them. Captain Derek Mason's voice came through the communication system, addressing both fleets. Admiral Kreshtar, you are looking at Phase 3 of Operation Thunderstrike. What you see around you is just the beginning. The number of human ships continued to grow. 50 vessels became 100. 100 became 200. Then 300. The humans had not just matched the Zephyrian fleet. They had surrounded it with overwhelming force. Admiral Kreshtar felt his heart stop beating. His tactical officer was counting contacts. With a voice full of disbelief, "Sir, I count over 400 human vessels. They are in perfect attack formation around our entire fleet." But the most terrifying part was not the number of ships. It was their positioning. The humans had placed their vessels exactly where they needed to be to destroy the Zephyrian fleet completely. Every alien ship was targeted by multiple human weapons. Every escape route was blocked. This was not a battle formation. It was an execution setup. Morrison continued his transmission. "Admiral, 30 years ago, humanity withdrew from Galactic politics. Your people celebrated this as a victory. You told your citizens that the dangerous humans had been defeated and driven into exile. On Zephyrian worlds across their empire, citizens watched the confrontation on news broadcasts. What they saw contradicted everything their government had told them. The humans had not been defeated. They had been preparing. The truth," Morrison said, "is that humanity chose to leave. We were tired of cleaning up the messes created by species who started wars they could not finish. We decided to step back and let the galaxy govern itself." Morrison paused, letting his words sink in. Around the Zephyrian fleet, human ships maintained their positions with perfect discipline. No one moved without orders. No one fired without authorization. The display of control was as intimidating as the display of force. "For 30 years we watched," Morrison continued. "We saw 17 major wars, millions of deaths, entire species driven to extinction by their neighbors, trade routes disrupted by pirates, scientific progress halted by endless conflicts. The communication signal was being broadcast across the galaxy. Every major species was listening to the human commander's words. Many were realizing for the first time that humanity had been watching them all along. We tried isolation," Morrison said. "We hoped you would learn to solve problems without violence. We were wrong. The galaxy needs someone to maintain order, someone willing to enforce peace when diplomacy fails." Captain Amanda Foster's electronic warfare systems came online, demonstrating human technological advancement. Every Zephyrian ship suddenly lost communication with their fellows. Their targeting computers stopped working. Their navigation systems displayed false information. The aliens were blind, deaf, and helpless. "Admiral Kreshtar," Morrison continued, "your fleet is now completely under our control. We can destroy every ship you brought here within minutes. But that would serve no purpose. Dead enemies cannot spread the message we want to deliver." President Ellen Hayes, watching from Earth, smiled with satisfaction. Everything was proceeding exactly as planned. The galaxy was about to receive lesson in human power that would not be forgotten. Morrison's voice carried across space to every listening ear. "Humanity is officially ending its self-imposed exile. We are returning to galactic politics. But we are not returning as we left. We are stronger now, smarter, more determined." The human fleet began a carefully choreographed demonstration. Ships moved in perfect formation around the helpless Zephyrian vessels. Weapons powered up and locked onto targets. The message was clear. The aliens lived only because the humans chose to let them live. "To all species listening to this transmission," Morrison announced, "humanity offers you a choice. Work with us to build a peaceful galaxy, or face the consequences of your actions. We will no longer tolerate species that start wars for profit or glory. Admiral Kreshtar found his voice. Commander Morrison, what do you want from us? Morrison's answer was simple. Go home, Admiral. Tell your government what you have seen here. Tell them that humanity remembers every species that attacked our allies during our absence. Tell them that some debts will soon come due. The demonstration continued for another hour. Human ships performed maneuvers that seemed to ignore the laws of physics. Their weapons targeted asteroids light minutes away and destroyed them with impossible accuracy. Their technology made the Zephyrian fleet look like museum pieces. Finally, Morrison gave the order that would end the confrontation. Admiral Kreshtar, you and your fleet are free to leave. But understand this. We know where every one of your ships is located. We know the names of your crews. If any Zephyrian vessel attacks human interests or our allies, we will hold you personally responsible. The human fleet began to fade from sensors as their stealth systems reactivated. Within minutes, the Zephyrians found themselves alone in space, surrounded only by the memory of overwhelming human power. But they were not really alone. Across the galaxy, human ships maintained their positions near every major alien installation. The message was clear. Humanity was watching, and humanity was ready to act. Admiral Kreshtar ordered his fleet to withdraw. There was no shame in retreating from impossible odds. His job now was to return home and prepare his people for a new reality. On Earth, President Hayes addressed the human population. My fellow citizens, today we announced our return to galactic leadership. The other species will test our resolve. Some will try to challenge our authority. They will learn that humanity has not grown weak during our exile. The galactic communication networks carried news of the confrontation to every inhabited world. Editorial programs tried to analyze what had happened, but the conclusion was always the same. Humanity had returned as the dominant military power in known space. Some species welcomed the news. The smaller civilizations that had suffered under alien aggression saw hope for protection. Others, particularly the military powers that had grown comfortable during humanity's absence, began planning for war. But everyone understood the fundamental truth that the confrontation had revealed. Humanity had never really left the galaxy. They had been hiding in the shadows, watching and preparing. Now they were ready to take control. Commander Morrison remained at his position near the border, but he was no longer alone. The USS Relentless had become the flagship of a permanent human presence in alien space. Other species would see human ships every day, reminding them that the most feared warriors in the galaxy had returned. The age of human exile was over. The age of human dominance had begun, and across the galaxy, in government buildings and military headquarters, alien leaders began to understand that their comfortable world was about to change forever. Humanity was back, and this time they were not planning to leave.